Okay, I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Commission of March 15th, 2017. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, is available at the front of the chambers with the clerk. The Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of the room. If you parked in the parking garage across the street to the north, the gate is open and no parking coupons are necessary. Out of courtesy for those attending, the commissioners and staff, cellular phone usage is not permitted in these chambers during any portion of the meeting, and we appreciate your cooperation. The Planning Commission action is final on the following items. 1.1, special permit 08033A, 1.2, special permit 17004, and 1.3, preliminary plat number 17002. Any aggrieved person may appeal the final action of the Planning Commission to the City Council by filing a notice of appeal with the City Clerk within 14 days following the action of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission action on all other items is a recommendation to the City Council. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held March 1st, 2017. May I have a motion, please?
So move, Finnegan.
Second, Edgerton.
Amy, please call the vote.
Core,
Yes.
Edgerton,
Yes.
Finnegan,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Hove.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I'll ask Amy to read all the consent agenda items into the record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Amy, will you please call the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, thank you. Item 1.1 is special permit number 08033A to amend the special permit to allow for construction of a new deck on property generally located at 5001 South 56th Street. This is final action, and the staff recommendation is conditional approval. Item 1.2 is special permit number 17004 to allow for the sale of alcohol for consumption off premises on property generally located at 2501 West L Street. This is final action, and the staff recommendation is conditional approval. And item 1.3 is preliminary plat number 17002 to subdivide an acreage into 2 lots with a request for a waiver of detention and water quality on property generally located at South 109th Street and Yankee Hill Road. This is also final action unless appealed to the clerk within 14 days, and the staff recommendation is conditional approval. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on the consent agenda?
I see none.
And if there's anyone here that would like to speak on any of the consent agenda items that were just called, please stand and state that item. And I don't see anyone.
There appear to be. Entertain a motion.
Move approval, Core. Second, Edgerton.
Amy, please call the vote.
Core,
Yes.
Edgerton,
Yes.
Finnegan,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Hove.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
There are no requests for deferral, so we'll now proceed to public hearings. The staff will make a brief presentation. The applicant will then be requested to present his or her testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity to respond to the testimony, and then the applicant shall have an opportunity for rebuttal. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The timer will go off after 4 minutes, then you'll have 1 minute to wrap up your testimony. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the Commission votes to defer action or continue the public hearing. Amy, please call the first public hearing item.
Thank you. Item 4.1 under the public hearing is comprehensive plan conformance number 17004 to review as to conformance with the 2040 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan, a proposed new Cotner and Peace Street redevelopment plan, which would serve as a guide for the redevelopment activities within the redevelopment plan area. The proposed area consists of approximately 11.6 acres, more or less, and is roughly located between P&R Streets and 56th Street to North Cotner Boulevard. The principal proposed project is a 4-story, multifamily residential infill development with approximately 153 market-rate residential units and associated underground and surface parking, located on the northwest corner of P Street and North Cotner Boulevard. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these applications?
Yes, I was approached to this social event by an elected official voicing concerns on behalf of one of the property owners, and I referred her to planning and urban development, so.
Thank you.
Dean? David?
Members of the Planning Commission, David Landis, Urban Development Department Director, and the applicant in this case. This is the second step in the creation, ultimately, of hopefully a redevelopment agreement that will provide some development in the area. You saw the first step was the designation of the blight and substandard conditions supported by the Hannah Keelan study that we reviewed together. This is the plan that we draw for the entire area, and it also describes the project that we are looking at. So it collapses two things that normally happen separately. Normally, we just bring you a plan for an area, and then when a project steps forward, we specifically describe that with an amendment to the plan. This has that description of the project in the plan itself. The plan describes what could be done to promote redevelopment of the area, the financing tools that could be used, the land uses that would be appropriate, and it's supported in this document which has been provided to you and reviewed by the planning staff. This specific project is, as the clerk described to you, and it is the 153 market rate units to be sold to millennials and empty nesters in the area. This isn't student housing. It is to have 2 floors of underground parking to support this usage. And it will cost about $15 million for the private sector. It will allow us to use about $2.5 million of tax increment financing funds to support the projects going forward. This area, the gateway area, is listed in our recent comp plan change, the 2040 plan, as a node area. Places where inside the existing city, there are rich opportunities for redevelopment. We find that close to shopping centers and locations like that, where you already have a commercial presence, that ability to expand and alter what's around it is even greater than under other conditions. For example, in this area, the comp plan says that because of the node of Gateway, 500 to 1,000 housing units would be appropriate in this area. And this is the first step towards that end. There was, at the developer's behest, a neighborhood meeting on March 2nd. It was a cold evening. 4 people showed up. They had some questions. They left without objection. But, as Commissioner Finnegan pointed out, this is not without some controversy. There's at least one resident that we know of, a Ms. Kuomoto, who objects not only to the blight designation, but to the project itself. She believes it's too dense, it's inappropriate, and that 153 apartments on that space would be inappropriate and inconsistent with the needs of the neighborhood. However, in our examination of what we think the future of the city is and where the kinds of growth that we want to have happen is, this is a good location. And it's a good location because it's inside the existing infrastructure of the city. We run streets here, and by the way, the streets can handle this kind of traffic. We have our sewer lines and our water lines and our electric lines, so we don't have to build as we would at the edge of the city to accommodate new housing like this, which makes a more efficient use of the existing resources we have and keeps the city compact, which is another good idea. It keeps people off the roads because, well, in this case, you can walk to 2 or 3 different grocery stores if you lived at this location. That's the kind of thing that urbanism in the 21st century aims for, and this project is consistent with that. The plan includes the description of this particular project and reviews some of the conditions that are there, the projected land uses, the development processes that would be appropriate for the area, the future land use, and then the specific description of the project that I've just defined, as well as a description of the tax increment financing analysis. The planning department's here, the developer's here. I'll be happy to answer questions myself.
Questions for David?
I have one for you. How did you go about choosing the boundaries of the project?
We took a look at some of the conditions that were there and where they were present. We used those boundaries, and we kept it into the public land that we own, or the city owns, the LES land, and then the commercial district that's there. The developer reached out to the other property owners in that area, told them what we were up to, what they were up to, where they were going, conferred with them, and they were all in agreement. And accepted that idea. We didn't go beyond into the neighborhood. We kept it with this sort of commercial area, but again, an area that would be appropriate for redevelopment. There are, for example, some strange uses of existing land. The plat and the lots don't match. So we have some things, we have some structures that are 1 story high, strip mall approaches, entirely serviceable, and if they stay that way for 5 or 10 years, that's fine. But if you do have a growing community around a shopping mall, this would be a good place for that kind of development to occur. And so those were the elements that went into the drawing of the boundaries.
Other questions?
And I just have one more. So this is all residential, no like mixed use on the
First
first
floor, no. This isn't one of the kinds of things that you would see downtown, where we are very interested in the pedestrian experience, where you really want a downtown that has a first floor retail so that the shopper or the visitor constantly is in being observed, has a chance to interact, has landscaping and an inviting reason to walk down the street, another shop and another opportunity, another exciting occurrence. But in this case, we're looking at housing. And when you get away from the downtown area, you'll find lots of housing that doesn't have first floor retail. It's just designed to be as efficient as possible, to house people in an attractive, appropriate, standard meeting, market rate apartments, as is the case here.
Other questions? Thank you. Is there anyone here wishing to testify in support?
Good afternoon. My name is Kent Seacrest, representing Southview Inc., also known as Austin Realty Investment, who is the owner of the first phase of this project that David did a great job describing. I think for some of you that are new, this was a big part of the new comprehensive plan, was these mixed-use areas. And what, in a nutshell, what they're trying to drive at is we want to get 8,000 new dwelling units to be in the inner city that aren't there today. Now, the comprehensive plan estimates that 3,000, I believe, will end up in the downtown area, and we're probably on our way very well there. Okay, so 8,000 minus 3,000, that leaves 5,000 to go. 1,000 of that 5,000 was to fill in on the empty lots. We don't have a lot, but we do have some in this community that we can fill in. Okay, now that leaves 4,000. The 4,000 that we want to shoot for are targeted, I think, illustratively on this map, which are these nodes that David talks about. And this is where we were trying to get these dwelling units. Of course, the big node is downtown. You're seeing Gateway, again, the major regional shopping centers are the other bigger nodes, and then there's smaller nodes where we want to see this type of housing go forward. It was chosen not by accident, but we're lacking infrastructure dollars. And as David pointed out, if we can recycle and reuse roads, water, sewer that have capacity, that's a good investment. We don't have to go out to the edge. We're also seeing demographic trends. Traditional families are no longer traditional. And so we're seeing a lot of different types of housing products that we have to build new as part of this mix. And this allows us to build some of that new type of product along the way. These nodes are supposed to be along major arterials. We are on one. We're on O Street, or we're near O, we're about Cotner, and we're near 56th Street. So we have that circulation pattern that works for us. We have 2 different transit bus systems, one going north on North 48th that goes right by us, as well as the O Street route number 44. We got elementary schools that can take the capacity, so that makes a lot of sense, along with the grocery stores David mentions. We also have trails that are very close by to this area. And what this is also trying to do is get more customers to be near the commercial so that they shop, and keep our older commercial areas viable so that they don't disappear on us as well. And this strategy is also trying to keep a lot of the density in what I call the real traditional residential neighborhoods, but nearby, but not in those neighborhoods, so we minimize those type of conflicts. I just want to thank David for a good report, and George for a good staff report. And we did have a neighborhood meeting, and the few neighbors that did show walked away, I think, having their questions answered, and did not show opposition to us. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Seacrest? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here wishing to testify in support of this item? Is there anyone here wishing to testify in opposition to this item? Do we have any other questions for David? I would entertain a motion then. Oh, I guess, yeah, you're the last one, so, no. Okay,
Move approval, core,
thank you.
or move conformance with the comprehensive plan.
Second, Finnegan.
Discussion?
I think this is a good project. When I first moved to Lincoln many, many years ago, I lived very close to here in a house, not an apartment. But there are lots of apartments nearby. I like that it's close to multiple employers, the 2 bus routes. So this is a good development, I think, to allow people that maybe don't have a car can still get around and be active. So I'm going to support this project.
Anyone else? Dennis?
I'll just say, I like the plan as well, but we're voting on whether it conforms with the comprehensive plan, and I think the evidence is really clear that it does, so I'll be voting in support of it as well.
Anyone else? I'm going to support the motion. I think it does conform to the comprehensive plan. Appreciate how Kent described this as an infill project that makes a lot of sense with this location. Amy, please call the vote.
Okay, we're calling the vote for comprehensive plan conformance number 17004 to review as to conformance with the 2040 Lincoln Lancaster County Comp Plan, a proposed new Cotner and P Street redevelopment plan, and the staff recommendation was conformance. Core,
Yes.
Edgerton,
Yes.
Finnegan,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Hove.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
At this time, anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so.